Welcome to my Puzzles and Survivals tutorial guide. This video is mostly directed at you beginning players who may still be needing a little bit of help with this game, as not a lot of things are explained to you when you start things off. For example, most of you will rapidly level up and your headquarters will go from level 1 to level 10, for example. So when that tends to happen, you upgrade your fighter camps, shooter camps, rider camps, and vehicle depots. And when you do those particular things and you keep them up to date with your HQ, more often than not, you'll have several different troops that are of lower level. So when that happens, you'll have a lot of characters, or pardon me, troops, that are weaker than they should be, for example. Now if you go into your camps, like I just did right there, fighter camp, and you move all the way to the left, you can see all the troops you have and of which level. So when you go into there, scroll all the way to the left and check which ones you have and how many of each. You'll see this little upwards yellow arrow so that you can upgrade your troops to whatever your maximum is. Mine, for example, is a T9 captain. You click promote and it'll promote your troops. What that does for you is it saves you resources, and it's much quicker than training new high class characters from scratch. So you promote all your weaker troops into the maximum level they can be. It's faster, saves resources, and increases your might. That way you don't have to run around with 10,000 vagrants, 10,000 thugs, etc., for example. You can just go around into your camps, scroll all the way to the left, see how many of each class you have, and promote them. Once again, saves you a lot of training time and a heck of a lot of resources. It's just much better to do things this way, but the game doesn't actually mention that to you at the start. So a lot of you will probably have, like I said, a ton of low level troops which just do not benefit you. They are far too weak to do real damage against other players or zombies at that point. Moving over to something else, your heroes that you take for fights. A lot of these heroes do not give you actual boost when you take them into a zombie fight. For example, a lot of your beginning heroes are going to be something like this: Queenie, Maverick, Kento, Chester, and Amber. Now out here in this area, you can see all the troop boosts that you're getting. 10% attack and defense for fighter, 10% attack and defense for shooter, and also 10% attack and defense for rider. Now you notice there's 5 heroes, but I've only got 10% on each of these stats. So 2 of them aren't doing anything for me. Those would be these, the economy-based heroes. Economy-based heroes have passive abilities, and more often than not, don't actually benefit you. Let me rephrase that. They do not benefit you to take them into a zombie fight, for example, as they don't give you any actual perks while you're in that fight. Let's remove all of these. And we'll stick to one class of troops. So we're going to use Queenie right here, who boosts fighters. So we'll march down our list and look through all our fighter characters. And my heroes that give a fighter boost are Barbie, Queenie, Noct, Sanguine, and Seo Yun, for example. And as you can see right here, now my fighter stats is 135 attack, 160 defense, and 75 hit point. So do yourself a favor, make sure that you take all of one particular class. Although it is nice to have balance, unfortunately, if you're free to play, that's just not gonna happen. You're gonna be running into a lot of other players who spend a lot of money on this game, and you just won't be able to keep up. So for free-to-play players, it is more beneficial to stick to one troop type, whether it be shooter, rider, or fighter. Pick one of them, upgrade that particular class, and it'll just benefit you so much more in being able to do zombie fights, attack other players' headquarters, or do even things like the hero duel or campaign, anything. They're just a very big perk from sticking to one type. And now let me show you an example, like my team for example. I am a fighter-based player, so all of my troops are fighter-based. And over here you'll see an option where it says boost detail. You click on that and it shows you all the stats boost you're going into this fight with. Now these perks are not just all from my characters themselves, they're also from things like increasing your glory might or increasing your Nova skills, which I'll show in just a moment. But the important one, for example, for right now would be these fighter boost. As you can see, my fighter boost is at 1,000, and a good chunk of that is from my heroes themselves. As you can see right here, from my fighters, I have a 248 attack boost from my fighter heroes, and from Requiem, who increases all troop types 25.5%. Every single class has heroes for every grade, whether it be 2-star, 3-star, 4-star, or 5-star, that are good for one particular type. Let me show you right here. As you can see, Ulrich is the fighter-based hero, and he is the default 5-star hero for fighters. So he is one of the easiest ones to get as far as 5 stars go. You don't require spending a ton of money to get him, as you can get him with 5-star hero choice cards that you'll be getting from zombie lairs or from events. Fox is the default rider class hero, who, same as Ulrich, is one of the easier 5-star characters to acquire, as you don't necessarily have to spend your actual money to get her. And then Ephraim is the one for the shooters. So depending on which class you want to go with, these are your 3 heroes: Ulrich, Fox, and Ephraim. And these are the best and the standard 5-star heroes. Each one can counter somebody else. So whether you go fighter, rider, or shooter, they all have their perks. Fighter is more of the tanky type class, whereas they cannot deal as much damage as the shooters or the riders, but they have more hit point. If you're more concerned with being able to kill things quickly, it would probably be better to go with fighter, or not fighter, but shooter or rider, and you should be able to kill zombie lairs and zombies faster with a shooter or a rider based team as opposed to a fighter team. That being said, if you go into a fight against somebody else's headquarters, fighter beats shooter, but shooter beats rider. So it's like, you know, every single one has a counter. So the fighters lose to the riders, the fighters beat the shooters, and then the other way around. Riders can beat fighters, but riders generally lose to shooters. They all have a counter. And that's the important part of these, is once you choose a type, make sure you try to focus on that particular type's gear, chips, and modules. Like I said, for example, I am a fighter-based person, so my gear is fighter-based. I focused on improving my fighter-based gear to give my fighters the highest maximum output they can have. Now, if you would have gone with shooter, you would just upgrade the things that gave you shooter boost, and the same thing with rider. It's just a matter of preference. But generally speaking, you will run into more players that play with the fighters or with the riders. So shooter is also a very good alternative, as you'll run into a lot of rider-based heroes, and more often than not, members in your alliance or guild will have a fighter-based team, so having somebody that is very strong shooter-based could be very helpful to the group. as you'll be somebody that could defeat the rider-based opponents from the other alliances. And it's the same thing when you go down your chip line. For me, as you can see, I focused on just upgrading the fighters. You'll see that I'm scattered a little bit everywhere. That is a mistake that I also made when I was new to the game and used resources on chips that I was never going to use or modules that I was going to never use, like these for example. But once I realized that, I stopped purchasing them and I stuck with one type. So if you want to maximize your gameplay and you're a free-to-play player, you will benefit so much from sticking to one troop type. Whether it be fighter, shooter, or rider, it does not matter. And that's going to be the first video for the little general tips about the hero classes. I'll be setting up another one right now. So here will be part 2.